It was the final roll of the dice for one of history's most ambitious leaders. On June 18, 1815, the fields near the village of Waterloo bore witness to a battle that would seal Napoleon Bonaparte's fate and reshape the future of Europe. But what if Napoleon had won at Waterloo? What would the world look like today? Before we imagine that alternate reality, let's dive into the historical events that actually unfolded on that fateful day. In early 1815, Napoleon escaped exile on the island of Elba, returning to France and reclaiming power in what became known as the 100 Days. However, his return was not welcomed by the rest of Europe. A coalition of nations, led by Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, vowed to stop him once and for all. The decisive confrontation came near Waterloo in modern-day Belgium. Napoleon's forces, numbering around 73,000, faced the combined armies of Britain and its allies under the Duke of Wellington and the Prussians under Field Marshal Blücher. Together, the coalition armies totaled over 120,000 troops. Napoleon's strategy hinged on dividing the coalition forces and defeating them separately. Initially, his plan seemed to work. On June 16, at Ligny, he defeated the Prussians, temporarily sidelining them. However, he failed to prevent their retreat and regrouping. On the morning of June 18, heavy rains delayed the start of the battle. Napoleon hoped his artillery would soften Wellington's defensive positions, but the sodden ground blunted the impact of his cannons. Meanwhile, Wellington's troops held their ground, strategically positioned on a ridge. Throughout the day, the French launched fierce attacks. From cavalry charges to infantry assaults, they struggled to break through the coalition lines. By late afternoon, the tide turned against Napoleon. Blücher's Prussian forces arrived on the battlefield, overwhelming the French army with sheer numbers. By evening, the French army was in full retreat. Napoleon's dreams of restoring his empire were shattered, and he was exiled once more, this time to the remote island of St. Helena, where he spent the remainder of his life. But what if Napoleon had emerged victorious at Waterloo? How could a single battle have changed the course of history? Let's imagine an alternate scenario. If Napoleon had won at Waterloo, his immediate priority would have been eliminating the Prussian army. With Wellington's forces destroyed and Blücher's army neutralized, the coalition's unity would crumble. Austria and Russia, faced with logistical challenges and growing war fatigue, might have reconsidered their commitment to the fight. A victorious Napoleon could have sued for peace, forcing the coalition powers to negotiate. Europe might have seen a re-establishment of the French Empire, with Napoleon consolidating his control over key territories. But the long-term implications could have been even more profound. Napoleon's continued dominance might have delayed the unification of Germany and Italy, altering the balance of power in Europe. The Industrial Revolution, which thrived in a fragmented Europe, could have taken a different trajectory under a centralized Napoleonic rule. Napoleon's policies could have reshaped the colonial world. His influence might have strengthened French colonies in the Americas and Africa, shifting the dynamics of global imperialism. Additionally, his support for meritocracy and legal reforms might have spread more widely, accelerating social change in Europe. On the flip side, Napoleon's ambition could have led to endless wars as he sought to expand his empire. Europe might have seen decades of unrest, stifling economic growth and technological progress. The Battle of Waterloo was more than just a clash of armies. It was a turning point in world history. While we can speculate on what might have been, the reality is that Napoleon's defeat marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new balance of power in Europe. What do you think the world would look like if Napoleon had triumphed at Waterloo? Let us know in the comments below.